How's it going, everybody? Alright, so I'm outside smoking a cigar again. Now, just to let everybody know, this will be just another rambling video just because I'm out here and I just feel like talking again. So, the past, well, pretty much since I started this vlog, I've been out here just about every day smoking a cigar, a couple times smoking 2 cigars a day. This is not my norm. I hadn't smoked cigars over the entire winter, and the small container I have alright, so I don't have it with me, but just to let you know what I keep my cigars in. Because I couldn't really afford, I wanted to get a nice humidor. I didn't want to start with a beginner one and then upgrade from there. I wanted to get something nice, so I'm kind of saving up for that. So I have a Tupperware container that I bought from Walmart. It's, I don't know, probably about 3 to 4 inches thick, and it's probably a foot and a half long. So it's perfect. You can fit a box of cigars in there with maybe a dozen loose cigars. So that's what I keep mine in. And actually, I have a little humidity device with heartfelt beads, which, if you ever watch any of Brian Glenn stuff on Cigar Obsession, that's what he recommends, and it works really well. But what had happened is, over the winter, I had forgotten to check it. It was sealed for a really long time, but I had a box of cigars in there, like the actual wooden box. Well, that wood will absorb all that moisture, and it did. And it was dry for quite a long time. Even though my cigars, they're still alright, I'm just trying to smoke them, get rid of them to get them out of there. Also, just for the simple fact that here next week I'm actually going to be buying some, so I won't have any room. And not saying that I'm just smoking to get them out of there. I pretty much, because the majority of them were which actually I'm smoking the last of my Cinco Vegas high priming. So I kind of wanted to get rid of that. Even though, again, I don't hate the cigar or anything like that. It's just, I'm going to make room for other stuff. And, I missed out. I really noticed that I like sitting outside, relaxing. I really, really enjoy it. And then again, I get to talk to, well, not really talk to people, but, record some stuff for you guys. And actually, when I started this channel, my wife was gone she was house sitting for some friends of ours, and I tried staying with her a couple times, but their beds are super uncomfortable, and I have to work. So I ended up staying here, so I kind of bachelored it out for a while. So, most of the time I'm not really watching TV, so I'd come out here. So, anyway, from pretty much after tomorrow, because I'm going to review that picture tomorrow, because I really want to savor that one, so I really don't want to, nice and relaxed. It's actually supposed to be a little bit warmer too, which will be super nice. But, where was I going with that? Oh yeah, so, you'll be seeing me maybe do probably 2 cigar reviews a week from here on out. And then generally when I do my ramblings, I'll probably just be out here with my pipe, once or twice a week. So that, plus this upcoming week, it's just gonna be ridiculously busy. So by the time I get home, I'll probably want to come out here and relax, but I'm probably gonna come home, spend time with the family, eat dinner. Might come out here, but then I might go to bed. So I'm gonna still, probably produce 2 or 3 videos a week, hopefully. And again, when my computer goes to the shop, I'm going to try to use my wife's computer to do my videos. So, everybody, don't worry. Even though so far I have 2 subscribers, thank you for whoever you are. I started getting worried a little bit that nobody at all was subscribing. I was getting views, and also I was looking at the stats that they have for it. The minutes that you guys are watching is going up, so I like that. I know my videos are kind of lengthy, a lot of cigar reviews, they're 7-8 minutes, boom. But I tend to talk a lot. So, but thank you, for watching. If you watched any of my videos all the way through, thank you very much. But I did notice after I made a Twitter account for my YouTube channel, my views went way up. So I think it probably had something to do with it. So maybe some good advice for anybody who's going to be starting a channel. Maybe, I don't know. So anyway, sitting here when it's quiet kind of gives me time to think over some stuff. And I'm pretty much thinking about Holy Week. Is kind of what I was thinking about. And I used to actually take the entire week off in earlier years when I was single. That's when I take my vacation time. It's actually right now I don't have vacation time because I'm a graduate student, so I'm not supposed to have a life. I'm supposed to be there 24 hours, 7 days a week. Oh, so according to my boss, I am. But I'm not. I'm there probably 50 hours a week or so, somewhere around there. Just because I work all the weekends. I work today. Even though I try not to work on Sundays, I actually have to go in there for a little bit to do a little bit of work. Which I'm going to try to go do that before I go to Mass. So after Mass, I can just come home and relax. And also, I have to make spaghetti for my wife because I ate the rest of the leftover spaghetti and she was very upset by that. So I'm going to try to be a good husband and do that for her. And I'm talking way too much because my cigar is going out. So I actually don't think it's the cigars I've been smoking, like the one I was smoking earlier. Same thing was happening. I started smoking a lot from the foot just because I think it was going out. But I think it's for me talking too much. So, so anyway, I've been thinking about Holy Week. Like I was saying in earlier times, I would take the week off. And actually, if you're able to do this, I would recommend doing it because it gives you a lot of time to reflect, about the week, even leading up to Good Friday. So, in this way you can really appreciate the time. And also, don't forget, doesn't mean after Lent you can go back to, you know, only going to Mass on, Easter and Christmas, stuff like that. Go to Mass every week, at least Sunday. Sunday is, mandatory, but if you can, go during the week. Whenever I can, I go to I go to Mass. If I'm able to escape the lab for a little bit, I'll go to Mass at our campus parish. So, even though it doesn't happen very often, actually, last time I was there was actually Ash Wednesday, just because my home parish, they were having a service at night, but I wanted to go during the day, just because so I could come home and spend time with my family. So, but go to daily Mass if you are able. It is definitely well worth it. And speaking of that, I'm going to kind of go off on subject here for a second, but probably one of the best things we could possibly do is Eucharistic adoration. I myself am very guilty of not going very often, just because of my schedule, but it's always good to try to make time. Alright, there was a pause, actually probably about a 10-minute pause between what I was just saying and then now. My neighbor came home, so I had to stop recording. And actually, the software I was using was only like a free version, and actually, I did not know that. So I cannot just like pause and then keep on recording. I'm using YouTube's webcam recorder, so there's actually no, you can't just pause it and then continue recording later on. So I'll just splice two videos together. So where was I? I'm sort of trying to think. I know I was talking about Good Friday, taking time off. Hmm. Oh yeah, I was talking about daily mass. Oh, Eucharistic adoration. That is where I was at. So, like I was saying, I am very guilty of not going to Eucharistic adoration very often. I generally, my parish will do 40 hours of adoration quite often. I mean, I want to say it's probably 4 or 5 times a year, and I always sign up for at least an hour. And I always do some of like the weird hours, where they're usually blocked in red because you have to have at least two people there. because it's really late at night. And this is usually between the hours of midnight and 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's generally when I'll go. I probably could prioritize my time a little bit better and go at least once a week, because we have perpetual adoration at a chapel here in town, and I know there's a lot of places to do, especially small cities up probably do have one. If you're not sure, you could probably contact well, ask your parish priest. He probably knows. If he doesn't know, then you might actually call the bishop's office, and somebody there might help you, because they will probably know all the ins and outs and everything that they have to offer. So, Eucharistic adoration, really, really big thing. So, I would do it. You know, take an hour, go spend time with the Lord in the Eucharist. Always a good thing. Nothing bad will ever come of it. Only good things. So, my recommendation is go to Mass at least Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this upcoming week, during Holy Week. And definitely go on Easter. I would actually recommend going to the Easter Vigil, but you can actually go to all the Masses on Easter as well. If I remember correctly, every single Mass time during Easter has different readings. I might be wrong on that. I might be thinking of a different time. But it's a good thing to do. You can never go to Mass too much. Unless it's a regular Sunday, don't go to multiple Masses unless you need to for some weird reason. Just because you already went to Mass once on the Sunday, you already received the Eucharist. Now, it is good to receive the Eucharist often, but it's kind of unnecessary to go to every single Mass time on Sunday. Except for times where the readings are different and it's kind of like a different Mass. Alright, I am back for a second time. My wife had to come bring the dog out, so I had to move, because I am on the porch. Hopefully I could probably figure something out this summer where I can actually go, where I don't have to stop and everything, I can just kind of go. So anyway, where was I again? So try to go to Mass. I was trying to remember where I was going with all this. So, oh yeah, so if you can only go to one Mass for Easter, I would recommend going to the Easter Vigil Mass, which I think I already kind of talked about this a little bit. But for any of you Catholics who have ever gone to the Easter Vigil, or anybody who is not Catholic and has never gone to an Easter Vigil Mass, I would recommend it. And actually, I think I said, if you're not Catholic, and go sit in the corner and just watch. But in all seriousness, besides Christmas, is my favorite Mass, I guess, or time to go to Mass. Just because for Easter Vigil, the entire time starts out in the dark. And then the priest, I don't know if every parish does it, but I remember my old parish, and I can't remember for the life of me what my parish here does, just because I'm getting old, my memory's getting crappy. But the priest would walk around the church with a new Paschal candle, and a lit Paschal candle, and he would actually raise it, singing Christ, our light. And he'd do that multiple times. And then they go up, and all of a sudden, we start singing, and all of a sudden the lights come on. And it's very, we're material creatures, and for, a material thing, it's a great experience, I guess. That's probably the best thing. You start in darkness, and then boom, the lights come on. Because Christ is our light, and He's there. Christ is risen. Just like the song says, or the hymn says, Christ is risen today. Hallelujah. I generally do sing fairly well, but again, I'm not really boasting myself. I like singing in church. So, but then after Lent, we start the Easter season, which we celebrate our risen Lord, kind of like we actually do every single Mass. So, because without Christ rising from the dead, there's actually no point. He could have died for our sins, but without him rising, there's really no point to it. Just because if he didn't rise, he wasn't God. But luckily for us, he did rise, and he is God. So, thank our lucky stars for that. Anyway, so we're going to the Easter season, which is another great season. And actually, you know what? I think I'm going to talk about kind of liturgical seasons a little bit, just because, again, I'm not an expert. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But the Easter season's good, because we celebrate the risen Christ. And those who recently enter the church, they kind of get to experience their time as a new Catholic, which, coming from somebody who went through the process, it is great. And actually, I went through all three sacraments of initiation. So number one is baptism, number two is confirmation, and three is First Eucharist. And it was great. And also, I didn't have to go to confession. I didn't have to do my first confession, which people who are already baptized have to go through. Which now, actually, I do go to confession. I try to at least go weekly, even if there are no mortal sins. And here's my plugging in for confession, because it is probably I would say the best sacrament, because all the sacraments are, you receive grace in them, so they're all good and great. But confession is a place where you can, you get healing, and again, it's not like a therapy session, there are therapists for therapy sessions, and therapy has its rightful place, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when you go to confession, it is a spiritual healing, and it is great. Sometimes, I've had priests that really didn't give the best advice spiritually, but so generally I don't go to them. But generally, you're there to receive forgiveness, and you receive forgiveness. You receive absolution. Your sins are wiped away. You are now in a state of grace, and it is a wonderful feeling. And even just for a mental effect, you told somebody your deepest, darkest secrets, without having that weighing on your mind anymore. It's great. It's very relieving. For a long time before I became Catholic, or even, considered anything, I wasn't really a horrible person, but I had done stuff I wasn't proud of. Actually, I had done a lot of things I wasn't proud of. I wasn't the best kid. Okay, I'll use kid loosely. I wasn't the best teenager at all. Just for everyone, like I said, I am a graduate student, but I did not graduate high school. Not for me, dropping out or anything. It's kind of a really long story I'm not going to get into. But I didn't graduate high school. I finished high school, I just didn't meet all my requirements, so I just never went back and finished it. It's about to go out again. So, actually, I'll dive in a little bit more about how my earlier life, just kind of give inspiration to people that all is not lost if you are lost. So I didn't graduate high school. I continued to just work. I was a cook, actually. I did that for roughly 10 years. And, off and on, but probably straight through, probably about 8 years. But, I went through all my life, I was living in Canada, which, if you've watched some of my other rambling, my Rambling 1, I think I went through kind of my earlier life, but, spiritually earlier life. But after I moved back from Canada, I moved back to my hometown, and I was working at Applebee's, just a restaurant. I was doing pretty well, I made roughly 30 grand a year, with hourly wages. I worked a lot of overtime because I was single. Didn't really spend much money. The only things I did was I worked, I went to Mass, and I watched movies or played video games. So that was my bachelor life. Really nothing much else to it. So, around this time, I was I always had this deep feeling of a call to serve. I didn't really know what it meant. Actually, when I was kind of going through the process, going through RCA and everything, I was really heavily looking into religious orders. And actually, the Franciscans was one that really hit a chord with me. Because St. Francis is like, I read a couple books on him, like kind of like biographies of him, and they're great. Just his spirit, where he was a man who pretty much at the time had everything. He didn't want for nothing, and he threw that all. Well, I won't say he threw it all away, but he gave it all up to live a very poor life, and to spread the gospel. I mean, that's what he did, and he did it with such a gentleness. People just flocked to him. His first friars were very eccentric people. If you ever want to read some stories on them, it actually makes me laugh. One of his first followers, he can't remember his name for the life of me, but I guess he always had funny hats, and that always made me laugh, I guess. But just their antics. I mean, I don't want to say antics, but a lot of stories about him. It was just great. So, I was really prayerfully considering it. So I did a come and see weekend. Down in Cincinnati. With the Order of Friars Minor. That's what they're called. That's the original order that Francis started. There's actually three branches. There's the Order of Friar Minor, then there's the Order of Friar Minor Capuchin, and then the Order of Friar Minor, let me get this wrong, Conventualist. That's wrong, but it's close. I might put it in might put it at the bottom later in the description, like the three branches, and I'll put their websites there. Just for all you men out there who are possibly discerning a call to religious life. So, did a come see weekend. It was great. They're kind of evaluating you, because there's generally a certain charism that goes with certain groups. So they try to see if that person kind of fits that. I don't want to say mold is a bad word, but fits that, like the spirit of the order. So I spent, I think, 2 or 3 days there. It was really nice. It was actually it's probably the quietest time I've ever had in my life, because it was, we'd get up early. We'd do liturgy of the hours. We'd have breakfast. And then after that, I pretty much had, like, I don't want to say the run of the friary, but, I spent a lot of my time praying the rosary. And then, just talking to some other friars, because most of the friars there were retired friars. So, but anyway, Father Don, he, we pretty much had like a little exit interview kind of thing, and, he said, he talked with the other brothers there, and, I seemed to kind of like fit. And again, I don't want to use the word mold at all, but, I guess I had the right ingredients for the order, I guess, is probably the best way to put it. I fit the charism for it very much. But I had to do a few things. For one, you have to have at least a high school diploma. So I had to get my GED. And then you have to be, you couldn't have any debt, was the other thing. So I had a little bit of a debt. It was like a $2,000 thing. I had to take care of that. So in the meantime, I was living my life. And lo and behold, about a year later, I met the person who is now my wife. And oddly enough, a lot of people give flack about internet dating. Well, not necessarily internet dating, but meeting people online. I pretty much went on to a free dating website, put a little profile up. My handle was Catholic Man. And finding out later, she almost didn't talk to me. Because actually, my wife is not Catholic. She is a non-denominational Christian. So there has been, conflicts with with our faith, here and there. I'm not gonna say anything bad about my wife. I love her. Even though me and her do butt heads a lot. She's very stubborn. I am very stubborn. So we do butt heads a lot, but we complement each other a lot. She's very lax. I'm very strict. So we kind of meet somewhere in the middle. So it works out. If there ever was a great relationship that worked out with human beings, I think me and my wife would probably be in that category. And honey, if you watch this later on, I love you. So, so in the meantime, actually right before I met her, I decided, I got my GED, which was kind of ridiculously easy, especially for not being in school for about 8 years. But took my GED, and so I decided, I'm gonna start going to the local community college. I started doing that, and I was just taking, I was a gen ed type of degree. And then I met her about 2 months into my schooling, and it was almost right off the bat we knew we were going to get married. There's very few things in my life that I knew were for certain. This was one of them. And there's a point to this whole story, and I'll get to that in a minute. So I decided to switch to nursing. Well, pre-nursing, because there's you had to apply for the program there, and you had to take classes to get into the program. So started taking classes, did pretty well. I had about a B plus average, and I was still working about 35 hours at this time. So after about 2 years part time going to school, I decided nursing was not for me, even though I didn't get into the program. So I was pretty much taking a year and just taking some classes, like stuff that I could use for whatever. So I decided to transfer to Purdue. So that's where I go. That's where I'm a graduate student at as well. That's where I got my undergrad degree at. So I ended up going into plant science. So fast forward today, I am in graduate school. And all this started was, feeling a call to servitude, which actually I still have. I'm still trying to figure out what it is. I pray constantly on it, that God will reveal it to me, and He will in good time. But the whole point of the story is where you are and where you think you're going to go isn't always necessarily where God wants you to go. Even though, I thought I was meant to be a Franciscan friar, I wasn't. But the steps I was trying to go through, so I could meet the criteria, get my GED, getting, my debt. It led me to a better place. Because if I didn't do that stuff, I probably would not. I can guarantee I wouldn't be where I am right now. I wouldn't be in graduate school. I don't even know if I would have even got my GED. I wouldn't even know if me and my wife would have met. And some people say, well, circumstances, just, happen chance. My life is full of happen chances. This is kind of, for me to say, I should have been in jail half a dozen times at least, especially when I was younger. And they're just over stupid stuff. I kind of fell into a bad crowd when I was in my early 20s. My scar's going really funky, so I need to correct it. So, I fell into kind of a bad crowd. Not like a horrible, but, very drug-induced type of people. I was able to kind of straighten my life up after that. And, me finding my faith really helped me out a lot. And it's helped me struggle. It's helped with my struggle with, some other stuff in my life. It was all by the grace of God. And I can say that with 100% certainty. Nobody would ever change my mind on it. Just because it's my life. I can reflect upon it and see where He has nudged me and He has kept me out of so much trouble. And that's why I really think that, not that I think I'm meant for anything great. I really don't think, I'm not really down on myself, but, I'm just living my life, the best that I can. But I really feel like God has a plan for me. I don't know where it is. I don't even have a clue. One day when He feels it necessary, it will be revealed to me. If it's just for me to be a good husband, a good father, that's what it is. I am not scared of what will come next. I'm not scared of what will come tomorrow. Might be cynical for me to say I could get hit by a car tomorrow and it would be done. But if you always worry about, what's going to happen tomorrow, you're not going to really, experience what's happening today. And that's my little 2 cents about it on life. Anyway, so that's kind of like, in retrospect, when you look at things, you can see how your life has been guided, how your life has been guided one way or another. So anyway, I'm going to get back to liturgical seasons, because I went off on some of that stuff for a while. So there's Easter season, and then there's actually a thing called ordinary time. Well, sounds kind of, ordinary. But it's actually anything but. Generally, if you ever look at the vestment colors for ordinary time, it's green. Green means growth. These are times when we're supposed to really grow in our faith. They're not like quote-unquote special times. Even though there's, dotted throughout there, there's different saint days, there are, martyrs are celebrated and all this type of stuff, which are great. And also, try to read up on the saints of the day. Usually they're like a paragraph and you can read them. I read them, once or twice a week, just, some saint that really catches my eye, because there are a lot of saints. And I mean a lot of saints. So, so you have the Easter season, and then you have Advent, which we got done with not too long ago. And if everybody can hear that, that is my wife yelling at the bird, because he is being very loud. So you have the Advent season, which we just got over not too long ago, and I think I just said that. Which, I think of Advent as the Christmas version of Lent. Which, that's probably not 100% correct, but it is, again, it's a time of, reflection, of penance, because we're preparing ourselves to celebrate the coming of our Lord, His birth, when we celebrate it on August 25th. And then you have the Christmas season, which is a great season, where white is the color outside if you're, anywhere it snows, and vestment-wise. And then switch back to ordinary time for a little bit, and then we get into Lent, and then we're back in Easter, and that's how it goes. So, again, that's not a very detailed description, but again, I'm just rambling. That is why this is a holy and smoking ramble. Because I just like to talk. And hopefully you enjoy me talking. And again, if you do enjoy me talking, please subscribe below. I have 2 people so far. Let me get 3. Let me get 5. I will be ecstatic if I get that many people, at least. So, and as well, if anybody has any suggestions about my page, of maybe some other stuff you'd like to see, let me know. Comment. Get a hold of me. I'm always up for suggestions. I don't know if I put my email in here, or my email is available, but if not, I will put it on here so you guys can email me questions. Because I like questions. I like answering questions. I like teaching. I actually TA'd last year, my senior year, as my bachelor, and I really liked it a lot. So if you have questions, ask. If I don't know the answer, I will find the answer. And again, I am not an encyclopedia. Well, depends on what you ask me about. If you want to know some plant pathology stuff, I could probably, I don't want to say I know it all, but that stuff I probably won't have to look up. I can probably guess really good. But anything that goes with theology, or cigars, or, Catholic theology, cigars, or pipe tobacco, I know some answers. Some of them I'll have to look up. Some of them I might refer you to videos I have watched from other people, like Brian Glenn. I can never give him enough plugs because his page is awesome. It's great. Oh, another person to watch too, if you like Scotch at all or whiskeys, There is a guy named Ralphie. He has a website, which actually I haven't been to yet. I just watch his YouTube channel. It's called Ralphie.com. But his YouTube page is called Ralphie's Stuff. So he is Scottish. He is very Scottish. Actually, he is extremely Scottish. And he is hilarious. So watch him as well. He does a very good job at reviewing scotches and whiskeys. And I was watching Absinthe. He done an Absinthe, and he looks like a crazed madman, and it is great. Hopefully I can do a video like that sometime where I can make people laugh. Or maybe you're laughing at me now. Who knows? But, again, I can never say too much about confession. Go to confession. There's such a... I'm not going to point fingers at anybody, but statistically, there is a huge lack in people going to confession. In our day and age, we think we don't need to go. Everything's fine. At least I didn't kill somebody. That's good enough for me. If that's what you're holding your standards at, that you didn't kill or rape anybody, your standards aren't very good. But at least in my opinion. And again, I am no saint. None of us are until we reach heaven. There we go. So, even though we are the communion of saints, when we're still on earth, we are all sinners, no matter what. Some of our sins are big, some of our sins are small, but we are still all sinners, through and through. Just as Christ said, the person who is without sin, cast the first stone. So, also, think about that when you're possibly judging somebody. Maybe not to their face, but silently, think about that. And I have trouble being, I don't want to say humble, but of really tapering my anger at times, I think. So, I'm not really an angry person, but there's some things that kind of instantly just, irk me a bit. But, I can remember everybody on this earth, whether, you're the Pope, or you are the leader of ISIS. We are all brothers and sisters, no matter what. You know why? Because we are all human. And I think that's really lacking in this world today. About, there's so much separation. Whether it be race, whether it be religion, nationality, how we identify ourselves sexually. There's so much division, and people try to keep up these divisions, and it's just like Morgan Freeman even said it the best, and I love it. He was at, I think it was a 60 Minutes little thing where he was being interviewed. His big suggestion about how to stop racism: quit talking about it. If you keep on throwing up that there are divisions in the world, there will always be divisions. But if you all treat everybody like we're the same, then, then we'll all be the same. There will be no, there's a black person, oh, there's a gay person, or there's a short person, oh, there's a tall person. How about there's Bob, there's Amy, hey, there's Ahmed, there's, whoever. I think that's probably one of the biggest problems in this world today. But there are a lot of people in the world who just like to cause trouble just because maybe they have nothing else better to do. But again, that is just my opinion. Like everything else, it's all my opinion. So, I'm actually probably going to stop here, because I think with my other two short clips I had right before this is probably a little over, this is probably about 35 minutes or so. But anyway, thank you for coming to another ramble of me just sitting out here talking and talking some more. So, I should be back tomorrow. I'm going to do another, I think this will be my fourth review. Yeah, it will be my fourth review of a cigar, and I'll be doing a Padron, and I'll give you the specifics on that when I do the video. And we should be reading chapter 6 of Matthew. 6 and 7. Actually, I have to go back and look actually how long 6s. If it's fairly long, I might cut it in half just like I did with 5. But again, I'm really bad. I just really see what's in a 6. But anyway, everybody, God bless and have a good night.